Welcome everybody tonight to our monthly meeting. Our first thing on our agenda is 1.2, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on September 17th, 2019. Are there any corrections? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harris and a second by Mr. Hubbard. If there are no changes, you can vote.
It's a voice vote.
Oh, it's a voice vote. I'm sorry. Done messed up already. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 1.3 is our public hearing tonight. Our first public hearing will be Ordinance 19-20, an ordinance abandoning the right-of-way between Jones Street and Davis Street. If you would like to speak to for this public hearing, please come to the mic. You have 2 minutes. State your name. If there's no one that would like to speak, the public hearing is closed. Our second public hearing is Ordinance 19-21, an ordinance adding 9 parcels located in the 9th Civil District to Springfield Historic District overlay. If you'd like to speak, please come to the mic. You have 2 minutes. No one would like to speak? Public hearing is closed. We'll move on to number 3, Ordinance 19-22, an ordinance to rescind the current Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual and adopt a new Personnel Policy Manual. If you'd like to speak, please come to the mic. If there's no one that would like to speak, the public hearing is closed. We'll move on to 2.1. Discuss and possible take action on Ordinance 19-18 on a third and final reading. An ordinance rezoning 56 parcels located in the 9th Civil District from Commercial General District, Commercial Service District, or R7 High Residential District to Core Commercial District. Do I have a motion to put it on the floor for discussion? And do we have a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Trotter. Discussion, gentlemen, questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
On property in that area that's being rezoned, and as such, I will not enter the discussion or vote. I'll abstain from voting on this matter.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions on this third and final reading? No questions? We're ready to vote. Would anyone like to change their votes? And for the record, Alderman Gregg is absent tonight. Record the votes, please.
Motion passes 5-0 to 1. Alderman Head abstains.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on Ordinance 19-19 on a third and final reading. An ordinance amending the City of Springfield Municipal Code by amending Chapter 11, Section 221 entitled Anti-Noise Regulation and Section 225 entitled Public Conduct During a Special Event. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Harris. Questions? This is the third and final reading.
Comment.
Comment, sir.
Some of these mufflers are getting louder. You know, it's really just driving some of us old folk up the wall.
Okay. Any other discussion? No other discussion? We're ready to vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
2.3, discuss and possible take action on Ordinance 19-20 on a second reading. An ordinance abandoning the right-of-way between Jones Street and Davis Street. Is there a motion to discuss? And do we have a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Trotter. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Record the votes, please.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-21 on a second reading. An ordinance adding 9 parcels located in the 9th Civil District to the Springfield Historic District overlay. Do we hear a motion in a second from our iPads? We have a motion by Alderman Harris and seconded by Alderman Head. Discussion, gentlemen. This is our second reading. Okay? No discussion? Ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-22 on a second reading. An ordinance to rescind the current personnel policies and procedures manual and adopt a new personnel policy manual. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Trotter. Questions on our second reading? No questions? Call the roll, please. I can't stop saying that. Old habits are hard to die. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-23 on a first reading. A ordinance amending the City of Springfield's Condition of Service Manual by amending the section entitled Gas by amending certain policies to read as set forth in Exhibit A. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Harris, seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Questions, gentlemen? Oh, she has to read it. She's right. She keeps me straight. Thank you.
Ordinance 19-23, an ordinance amending the City of Springfield Conditions of Service Manual by amending the section entitled Gas by amending certain policies to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas it is necessary to amend or rescind certain policies in order to better serve our gas customers, and whereas Article 4, Section 13 of the Charter of the City of Springfield, Tennessee, requires legislative action to amend or set fees. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. The City of Springfield Conditions of Service Manual is hereby amended by amending the section entitled Gas by rescinding in its entirety the policies entitled Local Gas Policies, 2 PSI Piping, Construction of Gas Mains and Gas Services, and Gas Service Beyond Gas Main within City, and substituting new policies to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.7, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-24 on a first reading. An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020's annual budget by amending certain general fund operating budgets. And this is a first reading, and I will ask Ms. Brickles to read it in a minute when we get a motion and a second to discuss. Do we have a motion? Motion is made by Alderman Head and seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Ms. Brickles?
Ordinance 19-24, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund operating budgets. Whereas it is necessary to amend the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2020 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the city of Springfield's annual budget for fiscal year 2020 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to expenditures and revenues within the funds and departments as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Questions, gentlemen? Comments? No questions, no discussion? We're ready for a vote. Okay, anyone like to change their vote? Record the votes, please.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.8, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-25 on a first reading. An ordinance abandoning the right-of-way between Hill Street and Matthews Street. Do we hear a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and seconded by Alderman Harris. Will you please read this, Ms. Brickles?
Ordinance 19-25, an ordinance abandoning the right-of-way between Hill Street and Matthews Street. Whereas Don R. Sloan has requested the right-of-way of approximately 10 feet in width to be abandoned between 3 parcels owned by the above, and whereas the Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the request and recommends the right-of-way to be abandoned. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. The right-of-way between parcels located on tax map 80O, Group C, parcels 71, 72, and 73 of the tax maps of Robertson County, approximately 10 feet in width and approximately .03 acres, shown in Exhibit A attached, will be abandoned by the City of Springfield. Easements for all existing utilities owned or maintained by the City of Springfield utility departments within this right-of-way will be required and will be donated to their respective utility departments and shown on a survey plat provided at the requester's expense. Owner of the property shall be responsible for obtaining all surveys, legal adjustments to amend the property deeds of properties involved, and shall be responsible for all costs of said work. All ordinances and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only. This right-of-way abandonment shall become effective following its third and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. Discussions, questions, gentlemen? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Record the votes, please.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.9, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 19-22, a resolution declaring certain real property surplus and authorizing the disposal of such property. Do we hear a motion and a second? We have a motion by Alderman Trotter and a second by Alderman Hubbard. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Is this
Sneed.
the bigger building on the east side of Memorial or the west side?
It's a small building across from the old water plant, so it's right there, I guess at First
Right.
and Memorial.
Just trying to pull up that.
It's pretty much covered by trees. A lot of people don't notice it. However, in the winter, when the leaves fall off the building, occasionally we'll get inquiries about would we paint it, put "Welcome to Springfield" on it, or whatever. So if we can surplus it, I think different people would be interested in purchasing
Trying to
it.
see the size of that property is.
Used to be a real pretty, it was painted Springfield on it, when I remember years ago.
It says 3.4 acres. Is that it right there?
Is
Jamie?
it 3.4 acres? I didn't think it was that big.
I don't think it's that
I
big.
pulled up that group
It's
number.
on a bank. So, I would give a good acre.
It's real small.
It's not that big.
I think I found it.
Assistant City Manager Ryan Martin's trying to pull it up. Give us just a second.
It's 1 acre. It's showing 1 acre. It has a appraisal of $96,000. That 1 acre lot right there was, no, that's not right.
No,
I was on that.
could be.
test.
No way. Yes, sir, Mr. Martin.
It shouldn't have a tax appraisal on it. I just pulled it up on the property viewer. It doesn't give the acreage, but I think it's a little smaller. It's a lot smaller than an acre. It's a small parcel that holds that building right there on the bank. It's really unusable property. It's just always had that old decommissioned pump station on it that was ours.
I think I found it.
Okay, other questions?
Is it,
And it's in our name only, right?
Yeah.
can it fall in the historical category, historical preservation? Since it was sort of a trademark for a long time.
It was, and I'm not sure how long that pump station's been out of use. I would say, I'm not sure if Mr. Rowe might know, but
Gosh, it has.
Probably before 72.
Okay. A few days ago. Okay.
yeah, we've had some interest with people that might want to purchase that. That would help us, get rid of it, and they want to dress it up, and that's more than we're doing with it right now, so.
All right. Other questions? No other questions, gentlemen? We're ready for a vote. Anyone want to change their vote? Please record the vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
2.10, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 19-23, a resolution to tentatively award a bid to JSJ Construction LLC for the Community Development Block Grant Sewer System Improvement Project. Would someone like to make a motion in a second? Alderman Hubbard made the motion. And I will correct myself, Vice Mayor Harris, I'm sorry, I haven't been calling him Vice Mayor. He made the second. Any discussion? Ms. Holt, our city manager?
Just to add that this is a mandatory resolution that is part of the CDBG grant that we got for this $525,000. The budget is $4.4 million, and so this will offset that. But this approval goes to the Department of Environment and Economic and Community Development, and they put the final approval on it. So we're just authorizing them to approve this contract as the low bid.
Okay, yes, sir.
Any particular reason why there was so much difference in the two bids?
Now that I don't know, and I don't know if Mr. Rowe knows that.
It was almost, higher bid was almost double.
And it's the base bid. And so Mr. Beer's memo, I don't think addressed that.
But everything was apples for apples.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? No other questions? We're ready to vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Do I have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris and seconded by Alderman Hubbard.
Mayor, I got a question for Mr. Gardner.
Okay.
Mr. Gardner, the 3.1% rebate, kickback, whatever that TVA is going to give us for sign up for a 20-year agreement with them, how is that going to be reflected in the consumers' rates? Because they promised not to go up more than 5% if we did that, and here it is the first month.
Well, this is
They're
the
over.
fuel cost adjustment. That's not
Right.
what that is referring to. We still have the fuel cost adjustment, but the base rate will not go up more than 5%
Right.
per the agreement.
You mean, okay, so, and what's the base rate?
The base rate is everything before the fuel cost adjustment. So if, I don't know if you have the breakdown of the rate sheet, the spreadsheet I sent,
Yes, they do.
Yes.
send with that.
So, on your
Every,
iPad.
the base rate has a column with everything that's added to that rate. So there's like 5 different components before the fuel cost adjustment gets added to it.
Right.
But that is what's not going to go up more than 5%. But the fuel cost adjustment varies with the cost of fuel, of
And it's
course.
just a shell game if they just tell us that they're not going to raise the base and say it's a fuel cost adjustment. That's a shell game for them, isn't it? They make the decisions either way, how they want to
Well,
make that
the
change.
fuel cost adjustment hadn't changed, and the mechanism for implementing that has not changed.
Right.
It's really too early to say how that is going to transpire
So
with.
they're going to tell us, if you sign up with it for 20 years, we're going to kick back 3.1%. We're not sure how we're going to distribute that. But then at the same time, they're going to raise this fuel cost higher than I've seen it in a long time. How long has it been since it increased this high before? It's been a long time.
No, sir, I brought one to you a few months ago that was over 6%. That's a monthly adjustment. It can get up there, and in the winter months when it's, when we got cold weather, it's a lot of fuel. And if TVA has to buy fuel off system or has lack of generation for whatever reason, that can jump up. But it also, last month, as you remember, we had a decrease.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions while Mr. Gardner is at the mic? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Okay, Mr. Riddle?
Purchase gas adjustment's up 3.1% this month.
You didn't have to go the same way. I know, you're just the messenger.
If you remember last month, we hit bottom, and now it's gonna make its way back.
Any questions, gentlemen, before we get ready to vote? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Mr. Sneed has it.
Oh, Mr. Sneed.
There it went. Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, thank you. 3.3, discuss and possible take action to ratify the sole source purchase of low profile meters for Switzer Engineering Labs in the amount of $10,160. Do we hear a motion? And do we have a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Trotter. Questions, gentlemen? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve a contract with Cumberland Valley Constructors, Inc. of Nashville, Tennessee in the amount of $1,029,000 for upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. Do we have a motion and a second? Do we have a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Vice Mayor Harris. Questions?
Yes, Mayor. This is a $1 million contract.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can we get Mr. Beers to discuss that for a moment? What we're going to be doing for $1 million?
Okay,
Well,
Mr. Beers not here.
Mr. Beers isn't here,
Okay.
Mr. Rowe is, but we had $1 million budgeted from depreciation. Now, this is for construction, so it's actually going, once the engineering and soft costs are added, it's actually going to be over that, which we're going to have to take some money from some other projects. But it is for, Mr. Rowe could do a better job, but it's for the UV screen for disinfection and a grease and grit screen too, I think primarily.
Right.
Okay.
So just modifying existing equipment, we're not adding on new facility.
No,
Thought that, because.
it's an old plant.
There's so many things that we do down there, just trying to keep it straight, because.
It is.
I'd rather go for land application, like Jacobs Associates advised us to, instead of building onto the plant.
Okay. Other questions? Discussion? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action on a donation from the Historic Springfield Event Coordinators for the Christmas light fixtures with a value of approximately $2,500. Do we hear a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and seconded by Alderman Trotter. Before we get started on this subject, I just want these ladies, and there may be some gentlemen, to stand up that are present tonight. And I am so thrilled with what y'all have done with the Friday night markets. It has been so successful. We want to give you a round of applause. That has spotlighted our city of Springfield tremendously, and I cannot tell you how many compliments we have received from the event. So from the bottom of our hearts, we want to thank you for doing that. If you were not at this month's Friday night market, it was amazing. It was elbow to elbow. It was hard to get through the crowd, and it was so much fun. So come join us next year if you're not. I hope these ladies will continue to do this event. Y'all have been amazing. I think there's 5 of you or 6 of you? 7. Thank you. Tell the rest of them thank you. Okay? Now we will discuss this matter that's on the floor. Any questions?
Are they just going to be up during the Christmas season, or are they
Yes.
going through the winter, or?
Ace, would you like to come and be the spokesman? Spokeswoman.
That's okay. Yes, so we would like for the decorations to be put up before the Christmas on the Square and Christmas Parade event, so that's November 23rd. And then if they could stay up until January, just to kind of let the holiday spirit continue. That's the idea and the goal there.
While you're still there, I want to brag on you and tell everybody all the other things that you've done for us this year.
Boy. Okay. Me?
Yes.
Well, there's been lots of things.
Yes.
We did Jail Alley this year. We did the banners. We've done the lights. Those have all come out of, and where this money comes from is vendors who pay a registration fee for our First Friday Night Markets, our Earth Day Expo, any event that we host in the square, and then we have some sponsorships as well. That's where we're getting the funds to be able to pay for things like this. So all the money that comes in is actually just being funneled back into beautification of the downtown square so that we can put some lipstick on it as much as we can, so.
Y'all have done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Ms. Mayor,
Yes.
I want to personally thank you all.
Well,
Some Saturdays when I leave the Greenway and come through the downtown area, I'll just see just groups of out-of-town people taking pictures on the murals and just browsing around. So I've always said, you know, in order to make this thing work, we got to have private participation being backed by the public. government. So thank you very much for what
Sure.
you do.
We can't take credit for the mural. We'd love to, but that was actually the Leadership Robertson County group from last year. But they did some fundraising, so again, we'd love to take credit for that, but it
Well, all
was,
of it comes
yeah,
together.
but it's nice to see participation on the square. That's a huge economic driver for this community, and we want to see it be as successful as possible, so.
And I think y'all have started the volunteerism, and y'all have, your example has been tremendous, and there's a lot of other things going on, and I think it's because of what y'all have started. Mr. Singh?
Ms. Vance, I have on Springfield Alarm Safe around the corner, that sign, it's getting a little dated. I'm in the
Yeah.
process of making a new sign to help with your project cleanup downtown. I'm gonna retire that sign.
Thank
It's been
you.
hanging there over 25, 27 years.
Well, we'll just mark you off the list. I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
See, I'm grandfathered down there.
I know.
You see signs like that, so it's a little different.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But thank you. It's good. We want to see it be as beautiful as we can, and it's all these little things over time, and that's the goal, so.
Anybody else while she's at the mic?
Is there 2 items within this?
Well, there's just the donation of the 30 snowflake fixtures. The other one was a request, but it was a request for the city to buy the banner, which was, the estimated budget was like $500-something, which this board would not really need to approve, but I think it's a good idea to do that, to put a Merry Christmas up. Because, I don't know if they used to have one a long time ago or not, but I think it would really be a nice touch.
Yeah, I think it was season's greetings.
Be a great addition. Mr. Hubbard?
People are paying attention to Springfield.
Yes, they are.
I mean, I meet them every day on the Greenway and just bump into them. Yes, I guess I'm running a automatic PR system, but I make sure I'll stop a car when I say out of town license plate
Good.
and give them a card and welcome to Springfield, It's like Silli City.
Good.
Any other discussion while she's at the mic? Thank you.
My pleasure.
No other discussion, gentlemen? We're
One
ready
other
for
question, Mayor.
Oh, yes.
Was there any money put into the budget for signage in other
We
areas of
had,
town?
we put in $30,000 for the entrance signs. Now Walmart is working with us on doing that, so we will not be spending all of that. As a matter of fact, it should be pretty soon. They told me a couple weeks ago that they would be working on all the entrances. And then we also have, I think it's $5,000 for new banners for town.
That would go up and down Memorial or?
Bless you. Wherever, yes, wherever we want to.
Okay. Any other discussion?
What were we discussing, the consent?
Yes.
No.
No, I don't think that's been seconded yet.
No.
No, we're
To
still on
vote.
3.5, I'm
Okay.
To
sorry.
vote on the donation.
The donation. Any other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Sorry, Mr. Snee. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, we are now ready for the consent doc.
Move to approve all.
Okay?
Second.
Motion made to take it all.
I'd like to amend that and pull out 4.3.
4.3.
I'm not sure where we are.
Okay, there was a motion made,
By Vice Mayor Harris to accept all my second.
and you seconded it.
Okay, I'd like to make an amendment and pull out 4.3. That's the biggest one. We've discussed that.
4.3. Gentlemen.
You first you'll push your motion sign, sir.
But it's not working.
No.
It's not up there.
Oh, yeah, that's got to do this thing.
Okay.
Amend. I'm trying.
The consent items aren't showing up.
Okay. We're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way, right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. He's made an motion to amend,
And I second.
and you second the amendment. Mr. Harris, are you okay with that?
Just do them individually. That's fine.
Are you okay with taking the package and pulling that one out?
That's fine.
Okay?
Not the 3.
We need to vote on the amendment. Ms. Brittles?
If they agree, I think we can just
We can adjust.
vote on 1 and 2
Yes,
and then pull it
okay.
through.
All right. So we're taking
3 out.
4.1 and 4.2 together. And that's what we're on right now. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Okay, 4.3, the electric department's request for approval of a contract for Winter Telecom Services of Loganville, Georgia, in the amount of $565,295.70 for citywide fiber ADSS installation. The budget is $650,000. Discussion? Need a motion? Oh, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Sir.
Yes, I'd like to talk to Mr. Gardner about this.
Mr. Gardner, will you please come to the mic?
Mr. Gardner, I had a conversation with Ms. Holt, and my schedule didn't work out to come and see you on this. I need some detail on, this is quite an expenditure. I know we've talked about this in the past, but we've gotten, right here at the last minute, we're going to talk about this for its final. What exactly are we trying to do with nearly $600,000 here, $565,000? What is this supposed to do?
This is basically a system improvement. As you know, we've been budgeting for SCADA for several years now. We finally got that in the budget, and we're finally purchasing the equipment and the electronics to put in a SCADA system.
The SCADA, that's an acronym for?
Synchronized access and control. It allows us to remotely control our substations and all our breakers and our equipment.
Okay. Let me stop you right there so I can keep up with you. How are we doing that now?
Rolling the truck.
Driving the truck.
Right.
So we've got personnel in the vehicle who are going out, and how many of these facilities do we have?
We have 5 substations.
And they're all in city limits?
They're all in the city limits. They're pretty much on the perimeter of the city limits, except for our district substation, which is on Josephine Street. But as you understand, it takes time when you get power out to get a truck to a substation, especially if we're going out to somewhere like Mount Denson at the North Industrial Park or South Springfield, which supplies our entire city. So if we were to have a major outage, like we actually did twice this summer, then we could troubleshoot the outage with our crews, going out and riding the lines out like they do, but we don't have to wait for somebody to get to the substation, disarm everything and close the breaker. So it saves time in the restoration of power.
Okay, I'm trying to see how we can justify an expense like this when it's already being done by current assets. We've got a truck, we've got personnel. If we were to do this, are we going to cut a job or are we going to cut a vehicle?
No, sir, we're going to cut time, and this is very much needed to improve our customer service. Most utilities, I think we're probably one of the last in the Tennessee Valley not to have a SCADA system.
Now, this fiber optic, I saw in the specs they're wanting to put this in 3-inch conduit. Did I read that right? They're wanting to bury 3-inch conduit?
Coming out of our substations, yes.
So this is connecting point A to point B to point C to point on down to every one of these locations will be connected via a 3-inch PVC buried?
Yes, buried from inside of our substation going outside to a riser pole.
To a riser. Then it goes up on the pole and it's overhead. Now, are we getting ahead of the telecommunication companies, which they could be right around the corner and providing fiber optic, and we wouldn't have to run our own fiber optic? We could just tie into theirs?
No, they're actually already there, but if you tie into AT&T or Comcast, of course, you're going to pay for that infrastructure. Whereas we're putting it in ourselves for our own use and for our own operational benefit, but we also have a large amount of capacity in this system that if we ever wanted to do the same thing that AT&T and Comcast and others are doing, we could virtually down the road do like CEMC is doing out in the county right now and, sell data and sell internet and things like that. So the capacity is there to do that, but right now this is just for operational for our substations.
I'm having a hard time seeing how, even if we had fiber optic in front of all our facilities now, which I don't know, but do you know that if we have fiber optic in front of all of these facilities now?
We probably do on 3 of our substations, but not all 5 of them.
I'm hard to see how we couldn't, even if we paid those monthly fees, it would take an awful long time, years, to justify that return on investment for this. You'd have to concur with that, wouldn't you, Mr. Gardner? I mean, that's a lot of money
Well,
up front for this.
I think it depends on what you're going to use it for now. We're just been talking about our SCADA system, but we haven't talked about the AMI system that we're also putting in, that needs a connectivity and a backbone loop to be able to do that seamlessly. And we haven't talked about how to link all of our city offices, which will also have the capacity to do that and save time and communication space in a network that we won't have to lease from Comcast or anybody else from this point.
I've been in government long enough that if you talk about savings somewhere, we're going to do this to save, it doesn't happen. There's no savings. And if we're not going to cut assets to justify this, then I can't see the expenditure when we're still going to maintain the same apparatus to do this. And our power outages haven't been so significant that it hasn't been insurmountable that we need to spend that much money. I'm going to have to disagree
Okay.
with this.
Other questions? Anyone have another question while he's still at the mic? Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. I support your 110%.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion? We're ready for a vote.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
No.
Head.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you. Our city manager's report, Ms. Gina Holt.
Well, actually, I don't have much tonight. Just wanted to remind you that next Tuesday, the 22nd, is the dedication of the time capsule. So you all are certainly welcome to be out there. We're not actually burying it, but we are dedicating it, and we'll have the contents displayed. I had mentioned before, and I'm handing out now, blank pieces of stationery for you all to write a letter, handwrite a letter, to put into the time capsule. Nobody will see it once, and it's got 2 pieces of stationery in it in case you mess up and need another page. And so you can seal the envelope and return it, and we will put it in the time capsule, and no one will know what you write for 50 years. So just thought it would be a good idea to see what good things that you all said. 50 years. So I won't be around to see what you said, but
50 minutes, we probably won't remember what we wrote.
Anything else?
well, we will, this board, when
Okay,
you
well,
all
I'm-
adjourn. Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
Our meeting is adjourned. We will go into executive session. We will clear the room.